Joining me now is best-selling author and commentator Douglas Murray. Douglas, Kamala Harris has gone from hiding from interviews to doing a multitude of them in recent days, from the vacuous and risque Call Her Daddy podcast to sitting down with the ladies of The View. She also talked to Howard Stern and Stephen Colbert. Colbert asked her how she's different to Joe Biden.
When we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people, and I believe in our country. I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. You know, we have aspirations, we have dreams.
Douglas, would you like to translate that for us? Are you fluent in word salad?
Well, I am now, like all of us, Rita. I've learned, as we all have had to in the last few months. This has been the same sort of thing that she's done in every interview that you've just mentioned in recent days. People said for a long time, why is Kamala Harris not giving interviews? We knew why. It was because of this. She was asked in another interview this week about the border policy, and she started talking about how, the American people are and opportunity. And it's the same thing. She just flounders like this. And it's just terrifying, quite frankly. She can't answer a straight question. She can't answer a policy question. She does these horrible, vague ramblings. She hasn't even, it seems, got the nous to just think on her feet. I mean, when she's asked, about Joe Biden, she should be able by now to have a stock answer about how terrific he was, but how there's more to do and so on. And she can't do that, despite all of these Democrat cheerleaders in the media giving her the softest of softball questions.
Well, this is what's remarkable. She has had these soft questions and she still flounders. On The View, she was asked about how she would have done things differently over the last 4 years. And she said she couldn't think of a thing she would do differently to Joe Biden. I would have thought if you're the change candidate, you'd have at least a couple of things you'd mentioned there. Now, we are hearing in this election time a lot of talk about disinformation and misinformation, fact checks. You wrote in the New York Post recently that fact checks have become politicised, and it's now not about the objective truth, but what's in the eye of the beholder. Tell me about that, because it was a time where you could trust a fact check. You knew that was just going to be unequivocally accurate. No longer.
No, that's the case. I mean, I thought this was particularly striking during the vice presidential debates last week, the debate last week, when the moderator, once again, as with the presidential debates, only really fact-checked one side, which is, of course, the Republicans. And when they did this with J.D. Vance, as they'd done it with Donald Trump before, he pushed back against the fact checker and said, actually, what you've just said isn't accurate. And he was right, as it happened on that occasion. There's this effort at the moment to pretend that the southern border has been pretty secure in recent years because Kamala Harris was for a looser border 4 years ago. She's for a strong border now, it seems, to the extent that one can divine anything, as I say. But J.D. Vance, picked up on this thing. What the fact checkers were doing was trying to pretend that people who had got a Kamala Harris era effectively slip on immigration were in some ways fully, wholly American. And how dare you say that these guys in Springfield, Ohio, weren't as American as you and me, J.D., was effectively the point of the questioner. This is something that the media in America in particular is doing. And it's very striking to me because I've said many times that, facts and truth in journalism are absolutely vital. But the very institutions that talk about how vital they are, like, for instance, the BBC, which has set up something called BBC Verify in the last year to tell you about facts and to fact check, keep on getting things wrong. And not just wrong, but what's always noticeable is they get them wrong in a particular direction. There's a pattern. Now, you could say objectivity in journalism is completely impossible. Complete objectivity is impossible. Fine, at least you know where some people are coming from. At least you know, as I said in the New York Post, you know that if you pick up the New York Post, we at the New York Post are not soft on crime. We don't love the stuff. We don't like it. So you know where the Post is coming from on the issues of, for instance, being allowed to ransack your local CVS, good or bad. You know the Post will be against that. But these other media, the BBC and ABC and so on, they all do the same thing. They pretend to be impartial fact checkers. In actual fact, they're just not that subtly pushing everything in a very specific lockstep ideological direction.